Start. In cases like this, I usually avoid using unresolved lawsuits as proof of dark behavior, since they're just allegations. But Diddy lost that privilege by lying about what he did to Cassie. Cassandra Ventura, known as Cassie, was a young artist signed to Diddy's label, Bad Boy Entertainment, at just 19 years old. Diddy produced her first album, and soon after, they started dating. Their relationship lasted 11 years before ending in 2018. Little was known about their time together until, in 2023, Cassie shocked everyone by filing a lawsuit. She accused Diddy of subjecting her to a decade of abuse, violence, and sex trafficking. Diddy quickly settled the case for $30 million, avoiding a court trial. But soon after, other victims came forward with more lawsuits, inspired by Cassie's courage. These new claims included more allegations of assault, abuse, and other disturbing acts, which we'll dive into later. Despite this, Diddy went on Instagram to deny all the accusations, calling them nothing more than attempts to grab a quick payday. He doesn't mention Cassie directly, but it's clear he believes her accusations are aimed at destroying his reputation and legacy.
Told, allegedly by Sean Combs, that he would make him a star, but he needed to visit with him in private about it, away from his parents. Once they were in a private area, allegedly Mr. Combs made the victim perform upon him.
For months, there was no evidence to support her claims. But in May 2024, a shocking video was released that changed everything. This disturbing footage appears to confirm some of the abuse allegations against music mogul Sean Diddy Combs. I won't show the graphic parts, but the video clearly shows Cassie trying to leave their hotel. Diddy appears in just a towel, catches her, drags her to the ground by her head, stomps on her, and kicks her. She simply endures the abuse. The day after the video was released, Diddy tried to backtrack and issued a half-hearted apology for his actions.
My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video. I'm disgusted. I was disgusted then when I did it, I'm disgusted now.
After this, I realized Diddy is nothing but a manipulator. Even though some lawsuits haven't provided hard proof yet, it's tough to ignore them when the same claims he dismissed as money grabs turned out to be true. Take Cassie, for example. Did he use his power to boost her career as a way to control her? He was a multi-millionaire working with top talent, and he used that influence to his advantage. When he signed her, he was 37, and she was just 19. Within 2 years, he seduced her into a relationship, but it had dark motives. His actions suggest this was psychological manipulation, using calculated tactics to get what he wanted.
My lifestyle is so different than everyone else's that, I don't know if marriage would be conducive to me being sitting here with you right now. It is sometimes difficult to get through that, but ultimately whatever works out is going to work out.
Seducing someone only turns dark when it doesn't benefit both people. But with Cassie, his intentions were far from good. The pattern shows he likely used the same methods on other victims. In 2024, model Crystal McKinney filed a lawsuit claiming Diddy promised to boost her fashion career. With his powerful connections and compliments, it's easy to see why she believed him. He later invited her to a studio, offering her crystal-laced weed. Diddy pressured her into getting high, even though she said she'd had enough. He kept pushing her to take more and drink until she was so intoxicated that she felt like she was floating. He then led her into a bathroom, where he sexually assaulted her, leaving her humiliated and traumatized. Not only did he fail to help her career, but he allegedly blackballed her in the industry, causing her career to spiral downhill. Her life was shattered because Diddy chose her as his next victim for doc seduction. Shortly after this, April Lampos also filed a lawsuit, revealing a disturbing pattern. April was a fashion student with dreams of working in the industry, and Diddy offered to mentor her and connect her with the right people. In her lawsuit, she claimed that Diddy love-bombed her, a manipulative tactic where someone uses emotional flattery to influence and control for their own gain. Love bombing is when someone overwhelms a person with affection and gifts to gain their trust, only to later manipulate them. Diddy would flood her with gifts, flowers, and even Valentine's Day cards. But one night, Despite her not drinking, he aggressively pushed her to have alcohol. At a hotel, she told Diddy she felt uneasy and sick, but he ignored her and forced himself on her. Afterward, he love-bombed her again, promising to help her get into the industry. As a naive college student, she gave him another chance once he regained her trust. Shockingly, he assaulted her 2 more times, threatening to use his power to blackball her from the industry if she didn't comply. Then comes Cassie. Diddy signed her to a 10-album deal, which practically tied her to him for life. Even stars like Rihanna and Beyoncé don't have contracts that big. He likely seduced Cassie into this deal, promising her the world, but what he really gave her was a world of torment. At some point in the relationship, Diddy would begin to host these freak-off parties which involve him hiring male sex workers to have sex with Cassie in front of him whilst he watches and pleasures himself. All, of course, against Cassie's wishes and causing her discomfort. However, he would give her so much drugs that she was able to dissociate from these events and just let it happen. He had seduced this young woman so that he could watch this happen to her. For Diddy, it was all about the power. He was able to dictate every part of these freaks. He picked things like what lingerie Cassie could wear to ensuring her nails were white, so they could contrast with the skin of the black men, had to have sex with her. This was really disturbing to read. Diddy must have instilled such fear in Cassie about his power that she didn't feel she could leave or tell anyone what was happening. He made her feel so small and worthless that she accepted her role as an object in his dark fantasies, even though she hated it. She also mentions the many times he verbally assaulted her, and we can see in the hotel footage that he physically assaulted her multiple times a year. Diddy had a huge influence in the music industry and enough money to create connections that made people feel hopeless around him. We've seen how he had the power to blacklist other women from the industry, and Cassie would have faced the same fate if she spoke up. He used manipulative tactics to keep these women under his control. Mind control means making someone do something without them realizing they're being influenced. The person controlling them becomes a puppet master, pulling the strings of their victims' minds, and Diddy did just that. He targeted young women entering the industry, knowing they would rely on his connections and feel trapped. He made them believe their only choices were to stay with him and meet his demands or leave and be rejected from their careers. I'd even argue he played mind games, messing with their psychology for his own amusement or influence, making them doubt their own thoughts while their minds were being manipulated. A powerful mind game tactic is using ultimatums. As highlighted in Cassie's lawsuit, her abusive partner, who controlled her music label, dominated every part of her life. He made it clear that if she wanted a successful career, she had to obey him. This pattern is troubling when we consider Usher and Justin Bieber. Usher, as a teenager, moved in with Diddy and experienced some strange things. I don't want to jump to conclusions about what might have happened, but the relationship between the young singer and Diddy seemed shady. When Usher was just 16, Diddy produced his album and stayed involved in his life, even into adulthood, helping to boost his career. Until Usher speaks out about it, we won't know if Diddy crossed any lines. However, it's possible that these mind control tactics kept Usher compliant to avoid ruining his career because of Diddy's influence. A similar situation appears to have occurred with Justin Bieber as a teenager. After Justin spent 48 hours with Diddy, where he was gifted a Lamborghini, the two of them will go a year with little or no contact before they met up again, and Diddy asked Justin of this no contact. Justin Bieber got nervous and might be afraid from Diddy, which is normal for 16 years old. That could be quite telling with adult psychology tactics we've covered so far. It wouldn't have been hard for Diddy to have done something to Justin, but use his dark methods to keep him on the track and obedient.
And I lived with Sean Puffy Combs for a year. It was curious. I got a chance to see some things. It was pretty wild.
In 2024, music producer Rodney Jones, aka Little Rod, filed a massive lawsuit against Diddy. Amongst other things, in this lawsuit, he claimed that Diddy forced him to engage in sexual acts with female workers, but also claims that he is a victim of unsolicited groping and sexual touching by Diddy, and that Diddy tried to pass him off to other male friends using more dark psychology tactics. The method I thought he was using felt like brainwashing, which is a slow process that alters a person's identity and beliefs to benefit the person doing the brainwashing. Lil Rod was a straight man, but Diddy, for his own twisted reasons, wanted to change him to be homosexual so he could exploit him. Diddy was aware that Lil Rod admired the famous music producer Stevie J, who was married to a woman. Diddy showed Lil Rod a video of Stevie J having sex with a man and told him that this was normal in the industry. He also claimed to have had sexual experiences with others, including Rapid, Meek Mill, and the R&B singer mentioned earlier, which makes the situation even more concerning if true. Did Diddy think he could use Rod's admiration for Stevie J to manipulate him into adopting this new mindset? Later, Diddy tried to pass Rod to his friend Cuba Gooding Jr. on a yacht, where Cuba inappropriately touched Rod's legs, thighs, buttocks, and shoulders instead of pushing him away. When this attempt at manipulation failed, Diddy switched tactics, offering Rod money, a Grammy, and access to important record label executives. But then he turned threatening, making statements about harming Rod and his mother. All of this was to keep control over Rod. Diddy even showed off his guns and boasted about getting away with a shooting from 1999, which frightened Rod even more. This fear instilled by Diddy introduces us to the dark psychology concept known as the dark tetra. This concept includes 4 personality traits that, when combined, create a perfect recipe for pure evil. And I believe Diddy clearly shows signs of all 4. The first trait connected to his actions with Rod is Machiavellianism. Part of its definition highlights the ruthless use of power, choosing cruelty over compassion and mercy. People with this trait want to be both loved and feared to gain obedience and praise. If they can't have both, they prefer to be feared. Diddy brandishing guns and boasting about shootings to instill fear in Lil Rod was a Machiavellian tactic to keep him compliant while these horrific acts were happening in the lawsuit. In Diddy's early years in the industry, he was surrounded by violence and was allegedly involved in shootings that he escaped from. He has connections to the murders of Biggie and Tupac and was linked to the 1995 shooting of Suge Knight's friend Big Jake and another shooting involving a woman in 1999. Yet he was never imprisoned for any of these crimes. Diddy was confirmed to be involved in other violent incidents. In 1999, he filmed a music video with Nas. Just before the video was set to be released, Diddy suddenly decided he didn't like the concept and demanded a share of the profits. Nas's manager, Steven Stout, was hesitant to pull the video because he had already invested $14,000 in a scene that was originally Diddy's idea. When the unedited music video aired on national television on April 15, 1999, it wasn't long before Diddy and his bodyguards allegedly attacked Steve in his office. Reports say they used a phone, an office chair, and a champagne bottle to assault him. Diddy was quickly arrested and charged, facing up to 7 years in prison. However, Steve changed his mind and asked the district attorney to drop the charges after Diddy apologized. This was one of the few times Diddy said sorry for his actions, and it allowed him to avoid serious consequences. In 2001, talk show host Roger Mills filed a lawsuit against Diddy and his team, claiming they assaulted him, imprisoned him, damaged his property, caused him emotional distress, and conspired against him. This all stemmed from an interview in 1999 when Mills asked Diddy about the murder of his former artist, Biggie Smalls. Diddy refused to answer and insisted that the interview not be aired, even offering to buy the tape from Mills. When Mills refused, he says he was attacked in a parking lot. Diddy's bodyguards allegedly stopped him from leaving, took his videotapes, and broke his camera. Although the police acknowledged an incident, they couldn't identify who was involved. In court, the jury sided with Diddy. This pattern of violence seems to be Diddy's way of maintaining fear and respect. With his power, money, and connections, he often escapes accountability. Diddy surrounded himself with staff who assisted in these actions. In Mills's lawsuit, he claims that when he complained to Diddy's female staff member about this behavior, she told him it was Diddy's way of showing affection. The ability to control others often comes from the fear and admiration a manipulative person can inspire. Next in the tetradark is psychopathy, a term you've likely heard that's tough to define but relates to superficial charm, impulsivity, and a complete lack of empathy and remorse. If we look at Diddy's behavior, we can see many similarities. He shows superficial charm by pretending to care about emerging talent when he really wants to use them for his own twisted desires. He lies carefully and feels no guilt toward his victims, especially Cassie, whom he was willing to deny until evidence surfaced. Even in his apology video, he shows a clear lack of empathy. His violent outbursts toward others in the industry demonstrate his impulsive nature. The next aspect of the tetrad is narcissism, defined by an inflated sense of self-worth and a belief in one's superiority, which describes Diddy perfectly during his darkest moments. His financial success made him feel untouchable, allowing him to hurt many people without fear of consequences. One of Diddy's